Hello and welcome to Basel Tov, the courage and creativity of ADHD. I'm
I'm
Jen,
Ellen.
And I'm Annette.
and today we're here to talk to you about ADHD burnout, something we probably all do and suffer from because, we're like the kings and queens of overcommitting and it's terrible.
Yeah.
Like it gets you to where you think you've used up all your energy and you've given everything 100%, and then somebody's like you got to give it 110%, so you give it 120%, and then you're just done. Done after that. Nothing more. You can't do anything else, not even if you wanted to, sometimes not even if you had to. So, Annette, originally, this was a Reddit thing, right? You ended
Yeah,
up discussing this on Reddit.
I
Can we
did.
ask how this came about?
Yeah, so I posted to Reddit about a day I had because the previous day I had just had all my gears rolling and I got so much done. I was able to get a ton of paperwork done. I got my scheduling done for my English school early. I was able to accomplished so many tasks on my list and I had so much energy and I was like, "Yes, I'm ruling the world." The next day I could do nothing. I
Oh.
didn't even eat anything until dinner. It was just like total brain dead. And
Oh
so
man.
I went on to the ADHD women's subreddit, which is wonderful, by the way. And I was like, do you ever have a super productive day and then the next day you are completely useless? And I mean, I just went on there just to get some, I put it under the rant or vent, uh,
Oh yeah, the flare.
flare. Yeah, the flare.
Yeah.
And I was just like, uh, you know, today nothing happened and I have accomplished nothing. I haven't even eaten anything and it is almost dinner time. Ugh, stupid dopamine dysregulation.
Hmm.
And so I was just ranting or venting, but it's gotten 1,262
Wow.
upvotes as of now and
Well,
156
A lot of
comments.
people can
And
relate.
a lot of it, yeah. So when we were talking about what to talk about this week, I was like, it obviously this is something that resonates with a lot of people with ADHD. So why don't we go ahead and talk
yeah.
about this? Because I wasn't. I noticed that I've had this cyclical thing in my life, but I never really pinned it to an ADHD cycle.
Hmm.
And I was one of the first comments on here was from Crazy Ditz Diva at Reddit. And I loved it. And she said, "Yeah, it's like I borrowed tomorrow's spoons and then have nothing left for tomorrow."
That's
And
good.
Yeah.
I didn't really understand the spoons theory, but I just commented back this, or like you've spent your week's allowance for a day's worth of gas.
Yeah.
And uh
Hmm.
but I was like, a lot of the comments were talking about the spoon theory. And have you guys heard of the spoon
No,
theory?
not really.
I have not heard of the spoon theory, so this is going to be new.
Yeah, so I hadn't really I think back in the back of my head I had heard about the spoon theory a long
Hmm.
time ago, but I had never heard it in connection to ADHD, but it makes a lot of sense. Basically, what it's saying is that you have a set amount of spoons, and that's for executive functioning spoons, physical activity spoons, social spoons, focus spoons, sensory spoons, and language spoons. And you have a certain set of spoons, and how quickly you use them is how quickly you're going to run out of energy and how quickly you're going to burn out. And chronic fatigue and burnout is not really talked about with ADHD, but it does tend to happen a lot to people who are neurodivergent. And I had never really thought about the connection between, chronic fatigue and ADHD or autism, because autism is also in the same category in this uh,
Yeah.
in this regard. So I was like, well, that's really interesting. And, you know, if you use so many spoons, like maybe I was using all of my executive functioning spoons because I got a lot done. And I was like, boom, 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 boom. It was like, I felt so productive. And I probably just used up all my spoons right then. And then the next day I was just like, my brain couldn't focus on anything.
Whoa. Yeah, it was like you had a
Wow.
hangover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's like, but why? And I also noticed that when I go into these hyper focuses, or I don't know if I necessarily call my overexerting days as a hyper focus. Sometimes it is one thing that I hyper focus on, or a task that I hyper focus on. But it's like, for me, it's kind of just like, it's almost like a mania.
Interesting.
Mm.
And so I feel like so happy and so, you know, geared to do everything. And I'm just like, yay. And it feels like mania. And then the
Mm.
next day, I always notice that I sleep more too. Like, I think that
Mhm.
as a human being, probably because I'm also hyperactive,
Mhm.
I require a good amount of sleep. Like, if I don't get a solid 8 or 9 hours of sleep, I'm absolutely useless. And then I'll have days where I sleep 4 hours and I can go like a turbo truck. I don't know. I don't understand
Wow.
why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
So,
know, I think I've seen that in my own life too, where there's a certain like optimum number of hours to sleep. And for me, it's like 7 or 8 and on most days, like,
Mhm.
very generally. But if I get like 6 hours of sleep, I'll still function. If I were to get 5 hours of sleep, for some reason, that's a weird number and my body doesn't like it. If I, so I either have to have like 6 hours or 8 hours or 7 hours, not five and not three. Four is okay.
Yep.
Like, it's
yeah, it
just
probably has
really
to do with your
weird.
circadian rhythm.
Mm.
Yeah,
And,
Of when
probably.
you're waking up.
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
But yeah, that makes sense. And then but you can't sustain, like, if you wake up after 4 hours or 6 hours, if you keep doing
Mhm.
that, like, you can't sustain that.
Mhm.
At some
No.
point, you're gonna just drop on your face and be like, "I'm out."
Yeah.
Like,
Need
peace
more
Yeah.
out.
sleep.
Done here.
I mean, and that's
Yeah.
what
Yeah,
happens when you burn out, right? Your body is just like, "Nap, you're done." Whatever we were doing, just drop it. You need to rest. Yeah.
yeah,
You get to
Mhm.
that place where
and
you're just so done.
yeah, and you're just like, mm-mm, mm-mm,
Yeah. Can't
Yeah.
take any more.
no. But I was talking about, like, this is like a mania, and then I saw when because I was researching it, because I was like, this is actually a really interesting topic. And I came across the boom or bust cycle.
Oh.
Ooh.
And this is a cycle that a lot of ADHDers tend to get themselves into. And what it is you overexert yourself. Then you
Mhm.
have fatigue and burnout and you crash. Then you have
Mhm.
to rest, but you're frustrated
Hmm.
because you have to
Mm-hmm.
rest. And so that
Right.
frustration leads you back into overexertion, which
Mm-hmm.
leads you back into fatigue and burnout and back into rest and frustration. So it's this constant cycle. And one of the overriding themes from the comments in the women's Reddit, the ADHD women's Reddit, was, why I don't understand why I'm like this and why this happens to me. And there was a lot of, like, shame and just not feeling adequate. And it's like,
Hmm.
my
Hmm.
goddamn brain. Like, my goddamn
Yeah, I
brain.
mean,
And I feel
Yeah.
that way.
I know for me, I think
Yeah.
the number one reason I would overcommit to things and then eventually burn out is because, like, I just was a people pleaser and I had to say yes to everybody. And so I would
Mm.
overcommit to things. And I feel like I've changed that in the last couple of years about myself. And I've learned what my um how much I can handle. I've learned to set boundaries. I'm more comfortable saying no to people. But for many years, like when I
Mhm.
was really into baking and cake decorating, I mean, I would be up like every Friday night, just super late working on a project because I couldn't say no, and so I was never getting enough rest on
Yeah.
weekends. And I look back like, man, I mean, I had a lot of fun, but I was getting really frustrated too. And so it's hard to find that
Yeah.
balance with your hobbies, especially that you love. You can burn out doing anything.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think a
I
lot of us might
agree.
suffer from like work related burnout
Yeah.
because it's very difficult to say no when your job is on the line
Hmm.
and you feel that extra pressure. So
Yeah.
I wonder how common it is for ADHDers to um have burnout related to their jobs like constantly. And that's kind of how I've felt in life when I've had certain jobs that are really demanding and can be overwhelming. And I just felt like every day was like a new level of burnout that I would reach.
Yes.
And I couldn't say no because it was my job, you know?
Yeah, yeah, when
Right.
you feel like you're kind of stuck because you really need the money and maybe you're even looking for other jobs, but you
Yeah.
haven't found one, so you just have to deal with it. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
even the
Yeah.
the little inconveniences, they all add up and contribute to the burnout.
Well, when you
Yeah.
have to like cognitively focus on something and you're like, this is important, I have to do this, and you're using lots of mental energy to do this one
Hmm.
thing, and then you use up all your mental energy, but then you have to go into work the next day and you have to
Hmm.
somehow find that energy. It's like, how do you do that?
I know. Someday,
It's
when I've
really
been in those
hard.
phases in my life, I know you just, every day just feels kind of infuriating. It's just this vicious cycle of like giving your best during the day, putting in all your energy, getting everything done,
Hmm.
making sure you don't fuck up because you have ADHD and you can
Hmm.
Hmm.
forget things. And so that mental tax is
Yeah.
always there. You're always paying that ADHD tax. Whew.
Fucking
I
tax.
Yeah.
know.
I know.
Yeah.
Damn
It's
tax.
really easy to get burned out on accident?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's also easy to get burnt out doing things that you like to do, and then you're stuck going and doing the things that you have to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating when you're sitting there and you're like, I know I can do this.
Mhm.
I know that I
Yeah.
can make this invoice. I know I can literally get off my ass and walk to the post office to send this thing that I have to do. And you just can't manage to do it.
Yeah.
And I don't,
Yeah.
yeah, and you get so frustrated with yourself because you're like, what what the hell?
Mhm.
Like, it's not a
Yeah.
big deal. Why is this such a big deal?
Yeah. Yeah. I've had those conversations with myself too. Like, why can't I just go out and do the thing? It's really easy. Why am I avoiding this? What is really the issue here? And like, your brain doesn't immediately connect it to the fact that maybe you're burnt out. You're thinking like, like, what is it? Why am I so lazy today? And you're just kind of mean to yourself about it. Eventually
Mhm.
bully yourself out the door and,
What
Yeah.
do you
but,
think
or,
burnout looks like? I mean, to me, I think it feels like you get up and you just kind of dread your day. Whatever you have planned. You're already dreading it in the
Yeah.
morning. That's one sign
Well,
maybe that you're burned out.
I can dread my day and not be burnt
Oh, that's
out
a good
because I
point.
just don't want to do certain
Yeah,
things.
yeah, it
But
depends on what's
like,
going on, but
yeah.
I
yeah.
think burnout is
Yeah, what's it
when
look
you
like?
just cannot physically or mentally or emotionally engage in anything
Mm,
because you just don't have the energy to do it. Like, I sat there
Mhm.
after my day when I was like, I was super productive yesterday when I posted to Reddit. I literally spent the day like staring at my phone, but not actually watching anything.
mm-hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
I can't even tell you what I did. I have no idea. If you hear
Yeah.
things going on in the background, that's my husband making holes in the wall.
Oh,
Sorry.
Oh,
It's
actually, I didn't
so
hear that
loud.
yet.
right.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, good.
I'm glad it's not being picked up. Oh my gosh.
This is what
Um,
happens when you have a day off is
Mm-hmm.
you know,
mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, he doesn't, speaking of my husband, he doesn't experience this
What do
burnout.
you mean?
Like,
Mm.
he doesn't, he just like goes through his day like a normal person all the time. And when he has a busy day the next day, he's just like totally fine the next day.
Oh, it doesn't affect him emotionally at all? Like,
No,
interesting.
he's an alien.
So, is that neurotypical? Like, do
Yeah.
neurotypical people get burnout? Like,
Hmm.
do they
Yeah,
not?
everybody can get burnt out, but I feel like
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's just, it's a little less easy for
Yeah, I
neurotypical
feel like
people to get
I feel like
burnt out.
neurotypical people, if they have extra tasks in their day, if they have a bunch of extra stuff they need to do, to them it's not as difficult to just get it done. It's like, oh, those are important. Those are
Yes.
important tasks, so I'm just gonna get them done. No big deal. But for me with ADHD, I'm just sitting there like, oh, I have to do all this extra shit, and I just like whine about it to myself. My executive function is like,
Well,
no, you know.
do you
Yeah.
guys ever experience this wonderful thing when you have a plan to do something and then the plan gets changed, and just the fact that the plan is changed, like you just get angry or like and upset about it. It's like,
Sometimes.
oh, I can't handle it. Like when I was going to do this and then something changes and I'm just like, what? What?
Oh,
Why?
it
And
happened.
then,
Yeah, I think it
oh,
was
it throws me for a fucking loop every
3
time.
separate times last week. I got a phone call from my kid's school and I had to come pick up one of my kids for a various reason. And it was always right when I was in the middle of something. And so, yep,
Oh,
it's like when something like that happens and it just throws off whatever plans you had. Whoo, that can be very frustrating. And I think if you're already kind of on the
Yeah.
edge of burnout, when a wrench gets thrown in your plans, that does not help that feeling.
No. And I'm like change
no.
avergent in anyway. Like I hate change. So
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
when anytime anything in life has to change or there's a change to anything, I'm so avoidant to it. And
Interesting.
it it makes me so emotionally distraught.
That's all right.
Oh.
You just got to process through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A
But
lot of people are like that,
Yeah.
I think.
yeah, I gotta mention though, like one of my favorite comments on the whole subreddit was because I was talking about burnout, and then
Mhm.
fresh underscore beat said, "Let's ask the woman that spread 5 tons of gravel the other
Oh,
day,"
I saw
and I
that
was like,
post. Yeah.
yeah. And I hadn't seen it, so I was like, "What?" And so I went to the link, and it was Meowly, and apparently this post says, "I'm not normally ADHD is my superpower type of person, but then I have a few days like today where I hyperfixated and spread 5 tons of gravel on my own in the rain with nothing but a shovel, a Taylor Swift album on repeat, and a dream. And I realized it may actually be true."
That's
I
amazing.
really want to hear. Yeah, I really want to hear from this person what the next day
I
was like.
know, seriously. Oh,
I
if that were
know,
me,
right?
I would have just been a blob the next day.
Probably can't even
Yeah.
move. Like,
Whew. Yeah.
Yeah, but
sheesh.
I get it so hard. I get it. I get that so much. And I was just like,
Uh,
damn, dude.
I mean, it
Like,
makes sense though, because
Mhm.
everything in life is a cycle, and so yeah, if you overload yourself with too many things that you have to do, whether intentionally or not, it makes sense that you're gonna get to that burnout point eventually. I guess it's just, you just got to know yourself and figure out, okay, what boundaries do I need, and where do I need to say no in my life to make more room.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's actually a really interesting comment that you just made. And
Mm.
when I was reading this article on neurodivergentinsights.com.
Ooh.
And it said intro to the pacing system to deal
Hmm.
with this kind of burnout. And
Hmm.
it said several practices help us get off the boom or bust roller coaster. One, addressing internalized ableism.
Hmm.
Two,
Mm.
practicing good boundaries. And three, prioritizing healthy sleep habits and more. And I
Hmm.
thought that was really, really interesting
Yeah.
Yeah.
because, last week we were talking about ableism, and
Yeah.
this is saying addressing internalized ableism, which, in some aspects, you know, maybe there's a part of us sometimes that needs to
Mm.
be very aware that this happens and try to limit our expenditures.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
We have to understand
How
our
much
own
energy
disabilities in some
yeah, how
way.
much energy we
Yeah,
spend on things. Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
hard though, depending on what phase of life
Hmm.
you're in. I mean, if you're a mom with a 6-month-old baby, you're working around the clock. You don't have a
Right.
choice. And if you're on the verge of
Yeah.
burnout and, maybe your partner maybe they're great, but they're, working a full-time job and they're busy too. And just, oh, there's certain seasons of life where it feels like burnout is just inevitable almost.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we also like, because they're talking about pacing out your energy expenditures and everything, but
Mm-hmm.
then we also have to address the elephant in the room, which is
Mm.
I'm a stubborn son of a bitch.
Ha!
And once
Mm.
I start
Yeah.
going on one of my, hyper fixations or my manias,
Mm.
I
Mm-hmm.
know that I should pace a lot of times, but I just don't do it
Mm.
Mm.
Interesting. Yeah.
because I'm like, no, I can't break this dopamine cycle. I got to get it all done now because I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. And so the fear of the next day kind of drives me to do even more on the days where I'm actually, getting shit
Yeah.
Mm.
done.
Oh, I know that. It's like you get that dopamine wave and you start doing something and that task feels effortless and you're like, I just got to keep going, got to keep riding this wave as long as I can, better take the trash out while I'm, walking around, just do whatever tasks you can think of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I sent all of the salary calculations and the schedules and everything like way early, and everybody was like, "Wait, what?" Because I sent Emily, my daughter, because she's working part-time at my English school.
Nice.
I sent her how much she earned last month and everything. She's like, "Mom, it's the first. Like we don't get paid till the 15th." And I was like, "Yeah, but I'm just getting everything done
Ah,
now."
uh, don't slow me down.
And my
Oh my
husband was like,
gosh.
I was like, hey, it's really early, and he's like, earlier is better than never at all, and
Hmm.
this is good. And I'm like, yeah, but I can't practice. I can't promise this for next month.
Yeah.
That's- Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah, this
know,
might be a
right?
one
Like
time thing, buddy.
That's the thing. We can't control when we get those bursts of energy sometimes, they just seem to happen randomly for
yeah.
me.
Yeah.
I've noticed that it happens more for me if I incorporate regular exercise into my days.
Mm.
So, like, the amount of exercise that I allow myself is directly proportionate to the amount of mental energy I will have for that day. It's
Mm.
really weird. So, like,
Mm.
um, so back when I was cleaning houses for a living while I was working my way through the master's program before COVID, um,
Mhm.
I I was getting a workout every day, cleaning however many houses I had to clean for that day. And even though I really hate cleaning, the fact that there was money on the line, that's what made it really good. So I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll just,
Oh, and
collect
when
this
when
money
it's
for this,"
someone else's house too, when it's someone else's house, it's easier. I don't know
Yeah.
why, but it just is.
I don't know why
Yeah.
either, but it is
Mhm.
easier
Same.
when it's not your
Yeah.
own and you're getting paid. So, that's like it eliminated that whole cleaning issue right off the top.
Yeah.
And so I did like it to a certain degree, even though I know that it's not like the most glamorous job and society does not look up to house cleaners at all, even though maybe they should. But for me, it really worked because I was working my body and then I would have a huge burst of mental energy later to go do my homework.
Oh,
So it
nice.
was actually working. Yeah, like it was working really well for me. And I'm at the phase where I'm like, well, I've got to earn a living again. And I'm sitting back and secretly, thinking, well, maybe I could just go back to house cleaning and make some money that way. But at this point, like I've heard all these people like, "Oh, you're going to do great things in the publishing world. Oh, you're going to write all these novels. And you're going to do this." And even my husband the other day was like, "Well, I really want you to use the degree that you got." And I'm just thinking, like, you
Oh.
don't understand. I have to sit down all day if I write a novel, right? Like, if I'm a
Yo,
writer, I sit down. If I'm an editor, I sit down. Like,
and also, we have learned in the last 2 days that you live in BF Egypt, and how are you going to find houses to clean with hell out there?
well, I mean, this town is pretty small. There's something like 10-ish thousand-ish people
Yeah.
in here, and then the neighboring town, which is like 15 to 20 minutes away, depending on
You'd
where.
waste all your
It's
money
like,
on gas.
eh, I mean, it would be maybe yes or no. I
I'm just
guess it
deterring you
depends.
from doing that ever again.
I
That's all
know,
I'm doing.
right? Seriously. Plus, there's the whole you might get sick because you know, this is COVID era now. So I've got to consider that too.
Yeah.
And I don't like getting sick with that because it really does mess me up sometimes. So like, um, so yeah, I'm sitting here going, well, how am I going to make it so that I can, do what I went to school to do? Because I really do love that. It really lights everything up, but also the mental expenditure required to do it is very great.
Hmm.
So that's where I'm like already seeing a conflict, like, oh, well, if I spend my day on writing and editing, it is really difficult for me to then have enough bandwidth to like do the dishes or like do my laundry or organize a thing that's going to take a lot of decision making to organize, or like you could just keep going with all those examples. But um I'm already trying to figure it out, like, okay, how can I make it so that I incorporate a certain amount of exercise into every single day so that I can have more energy to do all the stuff I've got to do in a timely manner, just like I promised, like a good business owner.
That is
Like,
that is
how
so
am I
true.
going to
It's
do
so true.
this? Yeah.
Exercise really does help. Even though, God, I hate
Mhm.
exercising and I never look forward to it. But you always feel better
I
afterward.
know.
Yeah.
I know. And also, ironically, the more I exercise, the more trouble I have sleeping.
Oh, interesting.
That's
That
interesting.
sucks.
Yeah, I just keep getting more and more and more energy, and it's more difficult for me to control some of my symptoms, but easier for me to control others.
Oh,
Like,
interesting.
it's really weird. So,
Hmm.
I don't know. Maybe that's
I
that combined type
And
oddity.
yeah,
sleep's
I feel
definitely
like I'm
important.
constantly I feel like I'm constantly exercising just because I'm always running around everywhere. So like I don't really actually if I exercise, I tend to overdo it and then I'm tired for the rest of the day. So
Oh.
like, but
Yeah.
So how do
I
we
expend a shit ton of
how do we
energy.
catch ourselves and make sure we don't get into burnout mode? Like what are the signs, do you think?
Yeah, so well, I mean, if you're finding that your day is being unusually organized and productive, you're probably using a lot of spoons to do that.
Hmm.
And so what they do say is catch yourself in that, maybe half your list. Like do, make a line like, okay, I'm going to do it here. And then it's time to chill. And that way you can conserve some of your energy. Um, I am giving that advice, but I do not take that advice. So,
Yeah, give yourself grace.
yeah. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I I just know myself and I know that I don't listen to
No,
myself.
I mean,
So,
it feels good to get things
uh,
accomplished, totally. Yeah.
yeah. And, I am a business owner. So there is a certain amount of grace that I have that I can do things on my time.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Mhm.
fortunately, I really hate paperwork and I have a really good office assistant who I just like pile all of that onto. And I'm like,
Nice.
hey, here you
Oh,
go.
that helps. That helps with burnout is delegating tasks. Like however you can. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it sucks because a lot of times delegating a task means spending money for someone else to do it for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
And not everybody has
It's
that
true though.
privilege. But I will
No.
say that, in dark times when I've been in a burnout phase of my life, I think it's worth it to spend a little extra money to pay someone to mow your lawn for you or get your house cleaned or, you know,
Or order your
Mhm.
groceries
yeah, don't
online and
feel
have them delivered to your
exactly, don't feel
house.
any shame in that. Just like do what you need to do to recharge your batteries because, you need to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think another interesting point to point out in my life at least is that
Mhm.
the things that I don't mind doing don't take much mental energy or spoons,
Mm-hmm.
so to speak. It
Mhm.
doesn't really drain me. However, the things I hate doing, oh
Ugh.
God,
Mm-hmm.
it's like pulling my own goddamn teeth with no Novocaine, no nothing. And it drains me. And one of the things that I hate more than anything in this planet is paperwork. I hate
Ugh,
paperwork.
so
Absolutely hate
boring.
Mhm.
fucking hate paperwork. And
Same.
yeah. And so, I'm just like, no, to the extent that I don't have to, I'm not going to. Now, there's certain things that I have to do because nobody else can do it, like doing teacher scheduling and,
Mhm.
making the year schedule or, planning out certain things for events that we're doing. There's certain things that only I can do, but
Yeah.
anything that can get delegated has recently been delegated. And yeah, it's made my payroll cost go up. And my husband is not extremely happy about that, but at the same time it's like, yeah, but this is for my mental well-being.
Right, and that's important.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's attacking that ableist thought of I should be able to do all these things because everybody else does
Yeah,
all
that
these
is an
things.
ableist
Yeah.
thought. Yeah. That's a lie though,
Yeah,
you know?
it
We
is a
all have
lie.
different
It's a lie
capacities.
we tell ourselves.
Yes, don't compare yourself to other
Yeah.
people. We're all different. I mean, for some people, getting out of bed and
Yeah.
brushing your teeth, if you did that today, that's a huge accomplishment, you know?
Yeah.
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 Exactly. And it would be like so great if we lived in this optimal world where everybody just got to, embark on the life that was really truly best for them.
Hmm.
But it kind of stinks that we live in a time, and maybe it's probably always been like this, but we live still in a time where we're for some reason unwilling to accept that some people need certain accommodations, that some people do better in certain environments, that if you put somebody in the environment that they thrive in, they will be very productive and they will be a very good worker.
Hmm.
And maybe it's not a great idea to sort out careers by pay and things like that, where some people are, hugely rich if they can manage to thrive in a field that's lucrative. Like, what about everything else? Doesn't everybody deserve to have a living wage that makes sense for them? So I think a lot of these ideas about like earning and careers and what full-time work means and how much time you have to spend to qualify for full-time work, how much time you have to spend to qualify for medical, dental, and vision benefits, all of those things are very ableist because they don't take into account anybody's real capacity to do them, not even neurotypical people's capacity to do them. So like this is something that it's not just, a neurodivergent issue. This is an issue for literally everybody out there, and I think that it deserves the time and space that's necessary to change it.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
Yeah.
Well, but at the same time, you have to have some baseline in society, and you have to have,
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
anybody will be disadvantaged based on any decision that you make. And,
that's
it is
possible.
somewhat up to us to figure out our own paths in life
Hmm.
because yeah, we have some blocks, we have some roadblocks,
Hmm.
but, it's not up to somebody else to fix it for us. Like if we wait
Yeah,
for somebody else to
No.
fix it, it's never going to get
that's
fixed. If we
right.
wait for, politicians to move on something, it's never going to get moved. So you have
Right.
to take it upon yourself to figure out. And you know what? One of the best things, one of the most useful tools we ADHD people have is the ability to pull ourselves up from a situation and look at it from a different
Yeah, we're
perspective.
creative.
And so, yeah.
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
instead of thinking, and I think that that's also an ableist mindset is instead of thinking like, oh, I just can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. Well, take a break from that and look above, look at your situation as if you're in a helicopter or an airplane, figure out a different path. Just because this road has traffic doesn't mean every road has traffic.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
yeah. And something a
It's
therapist
true.
taught me years ago was to make a gratitude list. And that has always helped me get my life in perspective too. It's just remembering there's so many things I have to be thankful for. I mean, no matter how shitty your life is, there's always something to be thankful for. And so I think that can help if you're in a phase of burnout too. It's just keeping that, keeping gratitude for the good things in your life. Get you
yeah,
through it.
yeah. And
Yeah.
don't be afraid to do things a weird way. Like
Yeah.
if you look at the timeline of my life, like if I laid out my timeline or what I've gone through, with all the decisions I've made, I look like an insane person,
Yeah, I thought I had my
you
life
know.
figured out when I was in my 20s, and obviously, it's
No.
never too late to change your life. We all have agency over our lives, and
Mm.
if you're in something that's not serving you and
Mhm.
you're burning out, whether it's a bad relationship or a job, change it. Life's too short to be stuck somewhere that's not serving you.
I mean, I ran away to
Mhm.
another country and started a whole new
Yeah,
life
you
in
can
my
do
late
that.
20s. So
Hmm.
Smart.
but no, it was a very impulsive thing.
Yeah.
But, sometimes that impulse to do something will move
Yeah.
you. And,
Mhm.
I was being burnt out by my past life.
Hmm.
Like it was a life burnout. It wasn't just a like I did too much in a day burnout. It was like my
Mhm.
whole life was overwhelming and I was
You
burnt
needed a
out. Like
whole new
to the day
scene. Yeah.
I just and I just cut and
Yeah.
run. I mean, I cut and ran and I, started a whole life and, yeah, I have my days of burnout, but it's not the same as doing something that is just draining the life from you.
Right. If you're not in the right situation, if
Yeah.
you're not in the right scenario for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Totally. I mean, like, I think that's actually how I ended up choosing the path in academia that I chose. Was I was an MBA student first. I had enrolled in the MBA because I had experience in marketing, and I was like, well, I really want to help people who are small business owners, and like get their stuff together and have a more productive and successful life. So I went into the MBA with that energy, but I had majored in English and creative writing at the BA level. So this is all new information. And while I was still getting good grades, I was still like qualifying to be in the program. I could feel the pinch. I could feel like where it was not fitting. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah. Did you
it
feel like
was
you were
just
masking?
not.
Did you feel like you were masking while you were there? Like,
Yes and no. I felt like I was in the wrong place
mm,
because I've always been pretty good with words, and writing mostly, not necessarily speaking. I'll make a fool of myself speaking really quickly, but in overwriting, I'm much better, and I always have been. And I wanted to use that because in marketing, you can use that gift, to your
yeah.
advantage.
Right.
And so I was thinking, oh, I'll use that here because I had been writing SEO content on the internet as a ghostwriter for a long, long time. Like I've written a pretty big chunk of the
Yeah.
internet. So like, I mean, it is just that is what it is. But I was in an environment where it wasn't that, like, people were not encouraged to be creative. So
Mhm.
I would come up with creative solutions to papers and make them very interesting to read, and make my content really super engaging. And the other people that were in the program were just kind of like putting along on the baseline axis, like doing everything that was expected of them, turning in what was considered acceptable or good work. But it wasn't like fantastic or groundbreaking or, anything like that. So I kind of felt like I was just in my own little corner, like
Oh.
like this creative person with a silly sense of humor that came in, makes jokes about the content, and you know the and the only and people were not engaging with me because I think they felt like I was odd, like
Mm.
I was not, just not in the right place. So I ended up, after a few terms, switching to the Master of Fine Arts in Creative Writing, which had been my dream to begin with. I really wanted to do it, but also I know that the arts is really hard. It's difficult to make a living. It's difficult to pay back your student loans. I don't
Yeah.
have a BA in education. So that means I can't be a K through 12 teacher in this state, not even with my master's degree. So, um, like, I couldn't fall back on that. I couldn't, and that makes it harder to get your foot in the door for teaching at universities. So, my entire path is going to have to be much more creative and much different than other people's paths because of how it was set up to begin with. But once I made the switch, I realized how much more natural it felt, how much happier I was, how much more excited I was about what was going on in class. And because I was required to take a graduate certificate along with that program as part of it, I ended up taking a lot of the same marketing classes that I was excited to take in the
Oh,
first place.
good.
So I still got to learn the material, and I still got to, learn about the stuff that interested me. So it was like a
Yeah,
win-win.
you just weren't in the right
And
place at first. Mhm.
yeah, I was not in the right place. I should have been taking the creative route with, a side of technical material instead of a huge main course of technical material with a side of creativity.
Yeah. So you just have to
It
figure out
just
what you want.
wasn't gonna
Just
work.
figure out what you want, what you need,
Yeah.
and then go from there. Yep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. So that's, I ended up figuring it out and doing it. And then I didn't feel the same level of burnout,
Good.
because when I was doing the courses where I had to really, really focus hard, and I had to really read the material, and I'd have to read it over and over again to make sure I understood it properly. And I was doing high level math, and oh, if anybody knows me, they
Ugh.
know math is my weakest
Did you have to take
subject.
accounting?
And yeah.
Oh. Oh.
And that was
Yuck.
hard. So, so yeah, I definitely made the right call on switching because it just was not where I needed to be. And I
Mhm.
think if people trust that instinct, it'll lead them in the right direction.
Yeah, listen to your gut. That is
Yeah,
one thing
just
I have learned over the years. Your gut, I mean, there's neurons in there. Your gut is smart, you know? It tells you
yeah,
things. Listen to it.
yeah,
Mhm.
Microbiome.
It's smart as shit.
yeah, yeah, it is.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess like with regards to feeling burnout, if you've noticed a cycle in your life, maybe it's a good idea to, when you see the cycle starting, maybe cut your tasks lists, or just prepare for an unproductive day the next
Yeah,
day.
give yourself a break.
If you're like, yeah, if you're like me, just, but you can't always plan that out on calendar because you never know when it's going to strike. Some people's are
Mhm.
cyclical. It seems like every couple weeks, or they can actually tie it to a cycle. But
Ooh.
mine tend to be pretty random and emotionally and weather based.
I bet they sync up with people's
So
periods too,
Oh.
unfortunately.
Yeah, I was thinking that too
Yeah.
because somebody had mentioned like I feel it coming on every 3 weeks, and I'm like, that might be
Interesting.
yeah, that might be a
That's
Those damn
funny.
period like
periods
linked to
trolling us
that,
every
but
month.
yeah,
What the fuck?
yeah,
We're
Oh
just
my
trying to live our
gosh.
lives.
Yeah. I've
yeah.
never thought to like put down on paper when my energy bursts were to see if there was a cycle. I wasn't even aware that there could be one.
Oh, you could look for the
So maybe
There
patterns.
you
that's
go.
something that we could do.
Maybe that's an
Put,
experiment we should
Energy
do.
journal.
yeah, like energy journal, put it down on a calendar. Which day did you have the burst? And
Are
then
you
which day did
ovulating?
you
Yeah.
yeah, which day did you fall on your face after
Mm-hmm.
that? Did it take 2 days for you to fall on your face or was it the day after? Like
Yep. All things you can
Yeah.
track.
how
Yeah.
long were you on your face for?
Yeah, because sometimes it does take more than one day to recover.
It does. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I've had really intense burnout like oh god, after finishing my thesis work, I I had burnout. Like I still feel like I'm coming back from it in certain ways and it has been like 2 or 3 weeks now. So it's I mean, it's kind of a problem and I know Matt or my husband he's been looking at it and going, are you okay?" Like every once in a
Oh,
while. And I'm just like, yep, I'm still coming back from it. Cause
yeah.
Aw.
if you were in my house the week before that and that huge project was due, you will know that I spent the entire week in the closet, literally in my closet, typing and typing and typing with very low light so I wouldn't get
Oh,
overwhelmed.
man.
And I figured out that if you have to do a lot of like paperwork or typing or like mental stuff on the
Mm-hmm.
computer, if you turn the lights down lower, it helps you. It
Oh,
helps
that's
you
good.
focus because you don't have all the side stimulation of everything else in the
Mm-hmm.
room to consider. So it just focuses your brain for you. And that was something that my husband suggested because he's like, when I get overwhelmed with work and I start feeling like I have a headache, I turn the lights down low. And I was like, huh. And he goes, maybe you should do that, while you're typing so that you don't see everything around you as much. And I
Nice.
was
Yeah,
like,
if I use a computer with low lighting though, it gives me a headache.
oh, does
Mm.
it?
Yeah.
I think maybe like the screen settings have to be adjusted if you do that. Cuz like if your screen is super super bright and you're in the dark, then yeah, you're going to probably get a headache from that, but like if
Oh,
you turn the light of the screen down lower to a less intense kind of
that means
setting, then
it's
maybe you'll like
nap time.
oh crap. Okay. Yeah,
No.
I guess I am
See,
one of those that will just
we are dealing with crazy face here. So, things that work for everybody else just like do not work for me. But if it's
yeah.
sunny, I have so much energy. When it's cloudy, I'm like,
The weather does impact mood. Yep.
I'm like a weather child. Like,
Mm.
luckily I live somewhere that, it's sunny a lot. And even during the winter, it's
That's
sunny.
good.
So, like,
Oh
yeah.
wow.
But
That
I
sounds pretty
am,
cool.
yeah. I mean, we do have the rainy season here, but the nice thing about the rainy season is that it's still warm. It's not cold and rainy. It's warm
Oh,
and
good.
rainy. And
Oh,
I can deal with
so
that a little bit
nice.
Yeah.
better.
Cold and rainy
So,
is no fun after
yeah.
a while.
No, but I know I don't know about cyclical like hormonally things, but I do notice that I have way more energy on pleasant days
Mm-hmm.
than I do when it's dark and gloomy. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
all I want to do is climb into my bed and sleep because that's my favorite place anyway. So
Mm.
I know
Yeah,
you
I'm
guys
trying to
have a
figure
different
out.
relationship with sleep than I
It's
do.
just so boring. It's
Yeah.
so mundane. Why? Every fucking night? Really?
But I
What
have
a waste of
I have
time.
such good dreams.
Oh, man.
I never remember my dreams.
Really?
Well, I mean, I
I
rarely
smoke too much
remember my
weed to
dreams. I
remember my
don't.
dreams. Yeah.
Ah!
Yeah, they're non-existent.
So
Well,
funny.
that's good for burnout,
Yeah,
right? I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
you just
yeah.
light it
Mm-hmm.
up, relax.
Yep, that's another recommendation I
I
have to help
mean,
with burnout prevention. Yep. Smoking the ganja.
If you're
Does
in a
that actually
state that's
work?
green
Oh yeah,
friendly.
it helps with stress. For sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. It actually I do that for sleeping purposes because I will get wound up on stuff, especially at the end of the night when my brain wants to turn on for creativity purposes, which I love staying up late at night for creativity
So
reasons
fun.
because that's like my main time, but I can't do it because I'm a parent.
You know, a
So,
lot of ADHDers are night owls.
Yeah, I wonder why that is.
jacked up circadian rhythm. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's interesting.
Yeah, I have this sweet spot that if I go to sleep in my sweet spot, then I'll fall asleep like right away. But if I pass that, I push
Just
through
stay up
it, then I'm
late.
like, I can't sleep until like
Well,
2.
it's nice at night because it's
Oh,
quiet and it's dark, and when everyone else in your house is asleep and nobody needs you, that's like the best. So, yeah.
yes.
Revenge bedtime
Yeah, nobody going,
procrastination.
mom,
Oh,
mom.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Everyone's quiet. So tempting to stay up late and
Yep.
just do whatever the fuck you want because you're an adult. Nobody can tell you
Yeah.
what to do.
Right? Like, you can't tell me how to run my life,
I do what I
This is
children.
what I'm
want.
saying.
Yeah.
This is what I'm
Yep.
saying.
Yeah,
I wish
I
someone
know.
would take that
Revenge
ability to
bedtime
choose away from
procrastination.
me because I need a regular bedtime.
I know, right? Like, oops.
Sleep is important.
Yeah, it would be
It's
nice.
so boring, but it is so important. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
It
I'm
keeps
always
you
telling my kids it's really important. You got to get enough sleep, and then I'll stay up really
I know.
late
They're like, but
and not get
mommy, you
enough
don't.
sleep.
Yeah.
I need less sleep. My
Oh,
body is finished growing.
Yeah, my
is what I
brain,
tell
exactly.
myself.
That's what I say too. Your brains are developing, so you need more sleep. Ha. Yeah.
Well, technically that is true.
Exactly. Yeah. So,
It's
it is.
true.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not a
not a
lie.
and I
lie.
walk away and crack another beer
Mm.
and stay up a few hours. Sorry, kids.
Same.
Yep.
Oh
You
my
gotta get all the
gosh.
little joys out of life,
Yeah. And
though.
whereas,
Uh,
oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. You gotta have time. Like, I think there's when you have ADHD, there's this really like messed up I don't know, just this it feels like the scales of justice almost like you need
Scales of
sleep, but
justice.
you also need you time.
Oh,
Like, how are you going to
exactly.
make it balance?
Yes. You need alone time to just do whatever the fuck you want, whether that's watching a show or messing around on your phone or just like, whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah, you need that time
For me,
too.
it's often writing.
Yeah,
Like,
quality
I've got to
alone
get my
time.
writing time in.
Exactly.
See, that's on that to-do list thing that takes too much mental energy that I hate.
Mm.
Mm.
Hate writing.
Yeah. It's not
Oh,
relaxing to you. Well, we're
yeah.
all different. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
I just when I was a kid, writing was really my only outlet for expressing the kind of pent up emotions that I had.
Mm.
So it was like my only mental health outlet because every like talking about my emotions and expressing my emotions in my house when I was growing up was unacceptable
Mm.
to the rest of the house. So we
Yeah.
and not because I was like a bad person or because I was overly dramatic, which I sometimes was, but like, you know, it wasn't a matter of like intensity or the fact that I would like get violent or something like that. It just wasn't acceptable um in the house. Like, the adults in the house didn't want to deal with it. So, there were heavy consequences that would come along with showing too much emotion. And because of that, I turned to writing and I turned to, other artistic pursuits like drawing, which I'm not the best at, but writing was really what got me and I developed a voice and a craft and all that and carried forward till today. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
I
think
still
that
use
it's
it.
important for everybody to have that thing that, they can fixate on that, relaxes them or gives them peace.
Yeah, creative
That's an
Yeah.
outlet.
important part of keeping your mental health.
Yeah, yeah.
No.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
different for
so
everyone.
I'm gonna close this sucker up
Everyone just take care of
and
yourselves.
Okay.
Yeah, well, ladies and gentlemen, just realize that you have a drawer of spoons, and those spoons are what energy you have to accomplish your tasks in a given time frame. How quickly you use
Yeah.
those spoons is up to you, but realize once you're out of spoons, you have to eat pudding with your fingers like Ron
Oof.
DeSantis, and that's
Or
nasty.
wash the dishes.
So,
Ew.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, even that won't.
Ew. Man, that visual. Ugh,
So,
disgusting.
in order to escape the boomer bust cycle, look out for the fact: are you in that cycle?
Mhm.
Are you overexerting yourself? Maybe if you are overexerting yourself, cut your task list for that day and go and do something pleasurable, like writing if you're Jen,
Take a
or
nap.
having a beer and smoking some ganja if you're
Mhm.
Ellen, or doom scrolling on TikTok like me. Do something that brings
Yeah.
you peace and interest, and try to save some of your spoons for tomorrow.
That's right.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
advice.
We have to save those spoons. Otherwise, we eat pudding with our fingers.
Ooh.
So,
Like Ron
if
DeSantis.
you're out,
Ooh.
like, ugh, gross, so
Yeah.
gross. So avoid being Ron DeSantis. Just, I mean,
I think that's the
think
overall
you could just,
theme of this whole
Yeah.
thing.
yeah. So, yeah,
Sums it
just
up nicely.
at all costs, avoid being a soul-sucking politician who doesn't know how to use cutlery. So
Brilliantly said.
avoid being the national butt of so many jokes.
Yep.
And just save those spoons and hold on to a few so that you can eat your pudding with dignity the next day and not be flat on your face like I constantly feel like I am after all of this boomer bust cycle.
We got this.
So always always value people's input here. So if you see one of us on the ADHD women's subreddit, make sure that if you have a suggestion for episodes or have any questions, totally ask them. Send them our way. You can also send them through the contact form on our website, baseltov.com, or baseltovpodcast@gmail.com, and we can read it out on the show and
Yeah.
and answer any questions, or just do the whole episode on something that you have suggested. So thanks for listening, everybody. I hope you have a plethora of spoons tomorrow. And Basil Tov.
Basil Tov.
Basil Tov.
Bye, ladies.